What is up, RotoGrinders? 2 hours nonstop MLB DFS conversation. I say 2+ hours because I think we're going to 7:10 first pitch. Crunch time coming in around 6:15. You got Chief Mineralogist Kevin Roth, Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood, one of the greatest DFS players in all of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. That's TJ Zwarych, also coming in at 6:15 for crunch time. But you got Squirrel Patrol, you got Kirkwood, Kid Yahoo, leader of the Juggalos, two of the absolute best in the business for the next 70-ish, 75 minutes or so. Kirkwood, welcome to the show. Happy Wednesday. How are things in your world? We should say slight difference as far as the slates today. FanDuel is not including the back half of the St. Louis Kansas City doubleheader. It's a 9-gamer over in FanDuel, a 10-gamer on DK. They are including Kansas City and St. Louis. Got to get that game in there. Kirkwood, how are things in your world?
Doing well. This is an interesting slate we got going on tonight.
Is it interesting?
I like it. It's got enough of me. I have some different thoughts than, after reading the musings. I'm kind of like on the other side of a lot of these pitching options. Like, I'm just going to go with the guys who I think are the best pitcher and the best matchups. And then I'm just going to go because the bats, there's no besides the Red Sox and Oakland and then the Mets, there's not really, you can pretty much stack anybody you want here. You
said Oakland is the second stack you mentioned?
No, I'm just saying that game in general. I have no problem stacking Oakland. Absolutely against Pivetta. Pivetta is, so boom or bust that, and you saw in a game where they were absolutely demolished and blown out, they still put up numbers. The Red Sox just, the ball was flying. It was dancing in Fenway last night. It's going to be the same tonight. It's hot. It's humid. It's got a great dew. One of the best dews of the season. So Baja Blast, I think is that what we've decided on for the highest dew?
I think Baja Blast is the elite Mountain Dew. I see Squirrel is nodding as well. Are you a dew guy? And do you have thoughts on the Baja Blast? Are you a Code Red guy? We could have power ranked Mountain Dews. We didn't do that today, but maybe for another show, I suppose.
I probably haven't had Mountain Dew in about 15 years, but
good for you.
I was back in the day.
That's why Squirrel is healthy and I am dying. That's why that is.
Well, we would yield to you to do the power rankings for if that's your wheelhouse.
No, I've just had I don't get into I've had Code Red, had Baja Blast, and then I've just had the old standby, the regular. And then and Diet Mountain Dew is actually a better diet soda than most, because it's like those weird flavors like Dr. Pepper, Diet Dr. Pepper, and Diet Mountain Dew probably taste the least like Diet Coke. Actually, that just reminded me. Are you a huge Diet Coke connoisseur, Squirrel? I think I remember that from a show. Or did I make that up?
No, I think you made it up.
You made it up.
Somebody was preaching Diet Coke. Maybe it was you. Somebody was preaching on one of these shows.
It wasn't me. Yeah.
I believe it might be Cards. I do the golf show with him, and he used to always have a Diet Coke, Kirk. Maybe
he is always drinking a soda while he's on air. So that might be, I'm not sure if it's a Diet Coke, but that does ring a bell when you throw his name out there. But all right, do want to say what's up in the chat. Kindly hit that like button, do subscribe, turn on those notifications, do all those things. We do appreciate so we can keep the lights on. It's also Wheel Wednesday. We spin the wheel on a Wednesday. Producer Steve is going to spin that wheel before we do our tiers. So probably about 35 or 40 minutes or so, give or take. You want to get in early. Do not make his life miserable for the last second, because if you wait to the last second, sometimes you want to make the cutoff and he's not going to throw your name on the wheel. Well, why do you want to be on the wheel? You get yourself a week free of RG Premium. Week free of RG Premium. All you have to do is click the avatar in the Discord. RotoGrinders.com/Discord in the live stream chat channel. There's a post there. Just click the avatar and your name's going to throw up on the wheel, and we will spin it in about a half hour, give or take. Eric is saying Mountain Dew only good with vodka. I don't think I've had that before. I think I've had a Red Bull with a vodka. I've done that before. Sure.
Oh, I lived on those way back in the day.
More reasons why we're dying.
What's an underrated drink with vodka?
What's that?
In France, they drink this heavily in France because I'm so cultured and I travel.
Sure.
They serve apple juice as like how we have cranberry. So you get a bottle of vodka, you're getting cran, you're getting tonic or whatever. You're getting soda or whatever like that. But in France, they do apple juice, and
all right,
it's actually pretty good.
Have you ever had that
No,
before, Scroll? Are you just as cultured as Kirkwood or no?
No, but I did. I went skiing. Well, I've never been skiing, but I went on a ski trip for the first time. Just about a year ago, about 6 months ago. I noticed like in the village, it was in Canada, like French, like Canada or whatever. And in the village, they did have like a bunch of like vodka apple drinks. Like a lot of them were hot, but there was like multiple like vodka apple drinks, and I was just thinking like, oh yeah, I wonder if like it was like a influence or something.
How have you never been skiing before? Did you not? You grew up in a relatively cold place, or no?
Yeah, I don't know. Parents just weren't into it. Like I grew up in like Virginia, so it wasn't like, oh, there's like mountains everywhere. Like one of the guys I went with like grew up in Calgary, and like that was just how you got around. Was skiing. You know,
He's going in the diamond. He's leaving you in the dust.
Yeah, like so I just didn't do it growing up, and then it is like a big hassle, and like there's all the equipment, the lessons, like it's a bunch of stuff. Like just getting my daughter prepared. My daughter went skiing. She was like 7. Like getting her prepared to do all the skiing was like the full day.
Well, you should have went to
They say
UMass.
that's the time to learn. When the younger you are, the better chance you are to pick up on it. And yeah, that's my understanding. Pizza slices is what I remembered. My brother telling me pizza slices. I guess that's
the snowplow. The snowplow.
Yeah,
I skied all my life, and it does take a lot. But at UMass, they offered a class, intro to snowboarding, so you could have got an easy A and learned how to snowboard. I did, but I didn't even go. I was such a bad student that I couldn't even make it to go, and I still got a B.
Where the floor is a B, not showing up B, up A.
That reminds me, I got a quick one. I just quick story. And so I lived on the same floor as a bunch of athletes in my freshman year, and Mike Bay, like a couple basketball players that I became like friends with, and they told me about this class, Education 397, and it was just for athletes so they could get an easy A. And no, it wasn't in like the regular like books or anything, but he's like, I was like, can I take it? He's like, I don't know, maybe. He's like, I just had to call this number and sign up for it here. So like when you're registering classes, so I did it and I got approved and I took it and I showed up the first day, right? And it's like the entire football team, the entire basketball team, and then me, right? And everybody knows each other. Nobody knows me. And then the teacher went around the room. She's like, why don't you just first state your name and just say how you ended up in this class. And I said, so everyone was like, Coach so-and-so told me, Coach this guy told me, Coach this guy told me. And they sent me, and I said, I didn't know what to say. I got put in the spot. And I said, I just wanted it was intramural. It was intramural to it was intro to intramural officiating, refereeing, whatever. So I said, I just wanted to get the adrenaline rush of making a big call in a big game. I always wanted that feeling, and everybody started laughing, and so they all liked me as like the class clown for that became like for that year. So that was my one story, but I got an A. It was an easy A.
They thought you were the kick. You could have said you're the kicker until the kicker shows up.
I know that would have been perfect.
Do you want to get it out of your system? Like give me like a out or safe or like a I don't know. Did you have a call you want to get out of your system? I don't know.
But I had, so it was, all we did was we learned how to officiate basketball, and we, in our final exam was we had to do a half of an intramural basketball game. And so, and I didn't blow the whistle once. I got there and it was so much different than I expected from playing. Yeah, it was like you play sports and you get mad at the officials. It's completely different. It's like you can't focus on anything. Like when you're trying to concentrate on something, and I was horrible. But yeah, it was a good time.
I like how you were taking shots at the University of Phoenix a couple days ago, and now you're talking about these classes that you're taking that you get your easy A in. I'm nobody to talk. I've definitely taken a couple of those classes to boost up my GPA as well. All right, let's get the show on the road, as Brian is telling us in chat. It is a 10-gamer on DK, a 9-gamer on FanDuel. Pitching is there's some pitchers out there. It's not amazing, but there's some that are rosterable. It gets ugly pretty quickly. Scroll, you want to give me the overview, the lay of the land? We'll talk about pitchers in a second, obviously. A little bit later, we'll talk about our favorite stacks as well. One of them was kind of thrown out there already, Pavetta, but that does feel like a matchup where you can play both sides. Pavetta does give up some power, a lot of homers, tough ballpark, big ballpark jump for Oakland. So I like the idea of playing both sides of that. Pavetta does look like one of the best pitchers taking on Oakland as well. Webb, if you can afford him, sure, awesome ballpark, and floor is a conversation we don't like talking about a lot, but what is it like? A bunch of straight starts in a row where he's got at least 6, possibly 7. He feels like a quality start machine. Once upon a time, Framber Valdez was a quality start machine, but this year he's been pretty rough. But now he's facing the Marlins, so maybe he finds that again. You tell me, what are we seeing as far as the overview? And feel free to give me the opening to pitchers swirl.
Sure. So I think the cash game play is going to be Framber Valdez, and it's filling out the expert survey. And the guy that I really like trying to jump out to me as being way underpriced is Frankie Montas. And asking, I think he's going to be the guy that I go to. And then I was like reading everybody else's answers, and everybody's like hating on Frankie Montas. I can't believe this guy's chalk. This guy, he's going to get lit up. It's a bad situation, like sneaky bad situation for him or whatever. I like Frankie Montas. I think he's way underpriced. Like the Rockies do nothing outside of Coors Field. They often do nothing inside Coors Field. It's true. This is just about the best ballpark they could be hitting in outside of Coors Field. It might not matter. Like they just can't do anything. They have high strikeout rate versus right-handers. Anemic offense on the road, and just not even that good at home. So yeah, I think Montas is way underpriced. I mean, he's like 7,000 on DK. Check his 7,200 on FanDuel. So I think he's the best point per dollar option. I think Framber Valdez is cash game option, probably the best projected. Nick Pivetta also in a good spot facing Oakland, but I don't know. We have to get a Boston weather report. The weather there is probably conducive to hitting, and I think Oakland's a little bit better than the Rockies overall. So I don't know. I think those are 3 of the names. Like you said, Logan Webb is expensive, but we saw Blanco do pretty well in a similar spot like last night, right? Where he's like the contrarian to spend up guy, but ended up getting it done. Probably better than any other pitcher on the slate. Actually, I don't know how Kikuchi ended up, but So and then there's not a lot of really good cheap stuff. Like the cheap stuff makes me more nervous today than it usually does. I don't know. You can always play Patrick Corbin, but I'd much rather play the Mets.
I see Alex in chat who he participated in the expert survey, and not so many words. You're not calling him out, but you're just one of those people saying he's like, yeah, I don't feel great. That Squirrel disagrees with me. Now, just a follow up there: is it that you think Montes is good, or does Colorado is that bad? What's more of the angle? Because we're expecting right now 35% ownership for Montes on DK, and you got the right lineup for Colorado because 27% Ks here we're looking at. It's loaded with strikeouts outside of Diaz. Everybody else is in the red, but Montes is he's bad. Like he's pretty bad, but it's more of the angle of. Or you tell me if you think he's good.
It's certainly
I don't see him being good,
right? Like I'm not going around playing Frankie Montas versus everybody, but I think maybe people are underestimating the matchup. Like he's average-ish. I'd call him average. They're not terrible, and something that kind of sealed the deal for me when I was looking up the numbers for the blurbs for the expert surveys, and he's been a little bit better at home this season than on the road. Pitching in Cincinnati is not something that's really affecting him that much. I mean, at least so far through a good portion of the season. Maybe if the home ballpark doesn't bother him that much, then the matchup is excellent. What is the better matchup that he's going to get? Maybe Seattle, but Seattle has a little bit more power and it's a little bit scarier on offense. I'd be a little bit more worried about Seattle, going into Cincinnati and just hitting the ball all over the ballpark like you saw last night. Rockies aren't going to do anything. I mean, I don't know. And my mantra so far this season that's been working pretty well is that on most nights, the pitching just doesn't matter. So I want to spend down. So I certainly wouldn't be spending up for Frankie Montas, but he's one of the cheaper guys kind of under consideration. So I'll go with Frankie Montas in the matchup. He doesn't have to pitch a complete game shutout, but he might versus this Rockies team.
Cash games on DK is probably going to be Framber and Montas. Framber coming in at 35%, Montes at 35%. Two guys, have had better days, but the argument you're making for Montes, I hear you. And this Colorado lineup it's bad, and I think it's worse than it typically is today because just looking at the strikeouts there, especially in the back end, 30% Taglia, 31% Jones, 33% Hilliard. Better versus righties than versus lefties. And he's facing 5, 4. Let's see. Tovar, Rogers, Diaz, Doyle. I guess, but they're in the front end, so you might see those guys 3 times. The Ks get bumped up at least to 22.4%. Kirkwood, your official thoughts as far as Montas? You in on Frankie Montas chalk, and everybody else as far as the chalk up top? Where are you at?
I'm in. So I look at this slate and I say, okay, you get the savings with Montas. First of all, I'll play anybody with a pulse against the Rockies.
Head chopper,
even Shavelson. Shavelson, take the mound. Even if it's hot and sweaty out there, a sweaty Shavelson. There was sweaty Strasburg, and then there's sweaty Shavelson.
Sweatsburg.
Yeah. Montas is fine. Like he scores it's all about what's on the slate. So you get the savings. He's 7K, and it's like I look around and I see, okay, who can beat him? Who realistically it can put some separation, real separation with him. Like Pivetta is probably the only one, and like we've said, it's incredibly hot and humid in Boston, and the K's are probably good, but he's hit or miss half the time. But he certainly has the most upside. But other than him, it's you got Valdez, you got Logan Webb, you got Bassett. It's there's just nothing here from a strikeout standpoint. You got from a K percentage, Charlie Morton is your next best bet, but he's hit or miss too, and he's got a tough matchup in against the Diamondbacks, who don't strike out a bunch. There just is not a lot here. So like I said, I'm just going to play who I think are the pitchers in the best spots and who are the best overall. So I'm totally fine with playing any of these guys, even if they're chalky. I like Valdez, Montas, Pivetta, and Webb. And then I don't really need anything else. I know Cheese likes Bassett. Myers is interesting. Morton, if you think that, he could strike out the Diamondbacks. Waka has the revenge game in terrible weather. Severino's had one good start in ages. It was really high. I mean, he
against the Cubs.
Yeah, he could be okay, but it's also against Washington, who doesn't strike out a ton, but not a bad matchup per se. But yeah, there's just nothing else here is my problem. So it's let's pick the right bats.
That's a good angle, because I'm looking at the player prop stuff, right? And there's only 2 pitchers that have a total at 6.5. That's Montas. Now the juice is on the under. I'm seeing plus 120 over 6.5. Pivetta 6.5. The juice is on the over, so he's got the biggest Ks, and everybody else 5.5 or 4.5 as far as their K prop. As far as the K percentage you're talking about it, Pavetta's got a 4 percentage point advantage on everybody else at 28%. Morton 24. Hoying for Miami, most of his numbers are out of the bullpen, and he's not going to throw more than 70 pitches, if maybe that's even rounding up. Also for St. Louis, this Gordon guy's probably not going to go. He's got 22%. I don't think he's going to go very deep. I'm not sure what we're projecting for him. A bunch of other guys in the 20s: Myers, Waka, Webb. Webb can go 7 innings, though. He can go 8 if he's really efficient. So I think he's got a potential upside, just the route of just collecting outs. But that is a good point that you guys are making, that there's just nobody's going to drop a 40 spot, basically. What about Framber Valdez? I'll go to Squirrel on this. You're okay with playing, Montas, who's not as good as he once was. Framber, clearly not as good as he once was. This is a guy who, stretching back, was it last season or maybe the previous season, had a string of 23, 24 consecutive QSs, which is just outrageous. Just not that guy this year, but maybe the cure is the Miami Marlins. What's your official thought as far as Framber? And he's, it's even, you're getting a discount too. We once paid 9-10K for this guy, and now he's cheaper and he's got a great matchup. He's going to be owned though. What do you got here, Squirrel?
Yeah, I think he's the best cash game option. If I'm paying up above Frankie Montas, I think Framber is actually maybe the first option. The Marlins have just been terrible. Trying to look up some of the numbers, but they're just last in a bunch of offensive categories. 29th in WOBA, 28th in slugging percentage, 29th in ISO. This is all versus right-handers. I think Framber's lefty. But in any case, the Marlins are terrible.
He's a reverse split lefty, if that matters.
Yeah, so Yeah, I mean, the Marlins offense, weakest in baseball. They are equivalent of the Rockies outside of Coors Field. I feel like this season the offenses have been pretty consistent and just much more consistent than the pitchers. So I'm much more likely to go with like a matchup driven pitcher than want to like spend up on a pitcher that he's got really good numbers or whatever, but like he's got a bad matchup. I've been very matchup driven this season. And the Marlins are even worse versus left-handers.
They're dead last, and it's the worst WRC plus I have ever seen. Is the Marlins?
What's the number?
69. So there we go. We're in.
That's pretty rough.
Yeah. 265 WOBA, which is dead last. 324 slugging percentage, which is dead last. 100 ISO, dead last versus left-handers. I think you got to go with Framber Valdez. It's matchup driven, but I mean, Vegas is kind of indicating to us that they believe Framber is going to get this matchup done. Got a 3.08 implied run total for the Marlins. I believe that's the lowest on the slate. Houston minus 230 favorite. Yeah, Framber Valdez.
It sounds like both you guys are just not really overthinking pitchers, and you're just going to be playing, the best options that we have, right? Pivetta, Framber, Montas. That's the first three as far as ownership. Kind of scrolling down here as far as our next options. By the way, when it comes to umpire stuff, there is one extreme hitters umpire, my apologies. That is for Patrick Corbin and Luis Severino. So we'll be talking about bats in a second. I don't think that's going to get anybody away from the Mets, but just sort of noting that extreme hitters umpire there for Corbin and Severino. Beyond this, I heard Tobias Meyer's name thrown out there. I heard Bassett's name thrown out there. I like Webb if he's going to be half the ownership, and looks like he's going to be half the ownership of Valdez and Montes and Pivetta. I'm going to try to pay up to be a little bit different on Webb, and I think he's got a chance to go 7-8 innings if he's efficient. He's got a chance to drop the CGSO. I also, in my brain, I feel like, he's not going to be pitching for at least a week, right? So if they need him to go an extra inning, throw a few extra pitches with the All-Star break coming up. I don't think he's an All-Star. He might be. I don't think so. But like if he's playing today on Wednesday, he's not starting for his team until next Thursday or something like that. So he gets if they need an extra couple pitches out of him, maybe they'll use that. But you guys don't want to scrape that barrel. If I'm hearing that correctly, is there anybody sort of off the board, Squirrel, that you're going to, or it's just you're going to be a little bit different as far as bats and your pitchers are your pitchers. They're kind of chalky, and that's that.
So just on Logan Webb, I think Logan Webb is a perfectly good option. I just think there's a big price difference. I mean, and it's a good park for him, right? Like pitching in San Francisco is generally going to be an option. But there's a $1,500 price difference between him and Framber Valdez. What is it? A $2,800 difference between him and Frankie Montas. I'm just not convinced that he's worth the extra $2,800. But certainly, like multi-entering, I think he'll be heavily represented in my player pool, just because there's some lower price stacks that might do well, right? And if Logan Webb beats like Framber Valdez and Montas by a point or two, but you're not able to do anything with the savings, then you probably want Logan Webb.
I saw the chat talking about not the best Dodgers lineup. Ohtani, Teoscar, Freeman, Pages, Rojas, Vargas, Taylor, Enrique, and Barnes. No Will Smith, obviously no Betts, no Muncy as well. I don't think that's going to get me to Christopher Sanchez. I'm not playing a lot of lineups, but like maybe he looks a little bit better. Pretty good hitting weather in Philly. I don't know what your dew point model is saying here, Kirkwood, but let me fire up the weather edge. I think it was popping earlier today for the weather in Philly. As far as precipitation, we should be good. Roth will be on, obviously later, give you clarification. I had to drop that in chat for the people, but I didn't see anything that was alarming. 10-game sample, a bump in homers of 25%, not a huge sample, but it is 87 in Philly. Winds blowing out at 18 miles per hour to left center. Boston, as Kirkwood alluded to, 108-game sample, pretty good size, 14 miles per hour toward the monster, 82 degrees, and you got that big 74 dew point, which is just, Kirkwood, 74. Is that breaking your model? Is it okay? 74 dew point.
My model disagrees with everything tonight. It says, the dews are great. My model loves it. Bill, there's 2 games with incredible dews. They were both on the East. coast over here. So there's the Red Sox game, my hometown. It is disgusting out. It's sticky, icky outside. And then the Phillies game. I was almost tempted to like talk about Gavin Stone as like a completely unowned, overpriced guy who has shown, you know, he went a complete game shutout against the White Sox. Much different situation, of course, but I was thinking maybe at upside, but then the weather just makes it, I don't even want to even mess with it at all.
Oh, Harper's not playing today. If you want a reason to play Stone, there's one reason. Schwarber's back, obviously. There's still no Romuto, but Harper is being held out for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's just a day off, but I'm looking at their lineup. I'm like, oh, yeah, Whit Merrifield, Sosa, Stubbs, of course, the weaker catcher. It falls off pretty quickly. By the way, nothing is our Weather Edge has no historical matching games for what's going on with the Mets. That's kind of strange. Seeing it's 82 degrees, 19 mile per hour winds going out the left center, 9.5 total. The Mets have a 5.5 total. That's in part because of Patrick Corbin. Squirrel, how much do you want to get Patrick Corbin off those Washington books? You must hate Patrick Corbin as a Nats fan.
I was actually thinking about this today, and I've actually kind of begrudgingly started to accept him, right? I think this is the last year of the contract. He's still, I think, the 6th highest paid pitcher in baseball. And I think his contract was signed in like 2020, 2019. I don't know. He eats innings. That's what he does. He eats innings. He goes out there. Like, I don't think he's been hurt this entire contract. If you had thought, like, yeah, he's going to not be hurt any season, this entire contract, you thought, well, that's a pretty good deal. You know, nope. I think I looked up, I think he's got 17 more losses than any other pitcher in baseball over the last 4 years. But you know what? Like, the team isn't contending the last couple of years anyway, probably regardless. And yeah, he's been just eating those innings. You know, they haven't had to like overtax any of the young guys, haven't had to rush them. But yeah, we got Patrick Corbin to go out there, throw like 200 innings a year, whatever. I don't know. It's fine. Obviously glad to have him off the books. I don't know when Strasburg is coming off the books, though. Because right behind Patrick Corbin, I think, 6th highest paid pitchers, Patrick Corbin. I think the 7th highest paid pitcher is Steven Strasburg. But
I have them
Strasburg or Rendon when they signed him in 2018.
Oof.
I saw a thing that it posted the 6th highest paid starting pitchers will make $233 million this year and have a total of 6 wins. And
DeGrom, is he one of them?
It's Max number 1. It showed Verlander, DeGrom, Cole, Corbin, and Strasburg.
It's really hard to pay pitchers long-term contracts. I did pull it up. You were correct. Corbin, let's see, 6 years, $140 million signed in 2019. This is the last year. Does he play for like the league minimum, or is he just retire? Like, I wonder, like, it's not a money thing anymore, but does he just like it? Does he like getting his face punched in every 5 days? I don't know. Like, he probably like hanging out with the guys. I would imagine it's fun. I wonder what he does.
Interesting call. I wouldn't be surprised to see him come back, because he can eat those innings. Like, he actually plays a role. Obviously, you'd like it for a much cheaper price, but for like a rebuilding franchise, he probably does like fill a role and would have some value.
Yeah, well, like Dallas Keuchel, I'm not privy to his financials. I assume he's doing fine, but he must just love playing baseball. Like, he just must really love it, or really dislike his family. One of those two. I don't know what's going on there, but because he's not excelling, but he's hanging around, and good for him. Strasburg's contract, by the way, 7 years, $245, coming off the books in 2026. Oh, what a bummer. Did he get like a discount to like cut it off early, or like they're paying? I don't remember. Are they paying the whole thing? I feel like he's just officially retired.
They were unable to insure the contract that came out when he started to retire last year, and they said, yeah, this is not insured. Like, we have to pay this full thing out no matter what. I don't think he just like gave them a discount either.
God bless America.
If we have any other takes here as far as pitchers, by all means, fire them off. Okay, so yeah, we should mention this. We need 56 more likes to get 2 spins of the wheel. We're coming up on the wheel right now. And again, jump into Discord, get in there before we cut off the time, because we got to do this before we knock out the tiers. Let's make producer Steve's life easier. We're trying to help you out, get you a week free of RotoGrinders Premium. We'll spin the wheel twice If you get to 100 likes, we're spinning it shortly. So I don't know if that's going to happen. But again, jump in the Discord channel, rotogrinders.com/Discord, live stream chat channel, hit the avatar. Derek wants to know about Charlie Morton. I feel like we kind of mentioned him in passing. Speaking of another guy, well, he's actually been pretty decent, though. Like he's 40? I think he's 40 these days, still hanging around. Good for him. Squirrel is, are you playing 150? You playing on MMEing today?
I probably will. I haven't, hopefully it hasn't sold out yet. I generally, when I do the 5 p.m., when I do Grinders Live, I tend to enter right after the show. If I'm doing crunch time, enter before the show. But I probably will 150.
If you're running 150, hypothetically, you think Morton makes the pool if you're running 150?
Yeah, I think so. I think it has some percentage of them. I don't love it, but don't hate it. Which is describes a lot of stuff on this slate. He's a little bit more expensive than I would like. 8,800 on DraftKings. I just think like Valdez and Montas are in a better spot, or maybe you go for like some super ultra savings if you've got the risk tolerance for it. Not a huge fan of Charlie Morton, but I think he'll be represented in like a 150 clip.
Did anybody have an official Tobias Harris take? I know he was kind of mentioned in passing. We don't have a Pittsburgh lineup just yet. I think there's a decent chance we see O'Neal Cruz sit out once again. He was pulled the other day for a hamstring. He didn't play yesterday. All-Star game coming around. Maybe they don't mess with it. Who knows? We'll see. But that's possibly the reason why I guess it's 2.5 hours so the game starts. But I think Myers is like kind of what Scroll is saying. Like, you don't hate it, but he's sort of fine. He's okay. Anybody have a Tobias Myers take? Did I say Tobias Harris? If I did. Don't play him. The Tobias Harris signing with Detroit thing is so hilarious and sad. I kind of feel bad for all parties. Not really for Harris, but the Pistons. You got to hit a certain threshold, I think, in salaries. And like Tobias, I guess. Welcome home. Tobias Myers. Anybody? Thoughts?
I think he's got a good arsenal, and I think the kid's somewhat talented. He doesn't throw very fast. He's down like at 90, 92, 93 on his four-seamer, but I think he has enough to beat the Pirates. Potentially. So I think, and he's kind of like in that, he's like his price is set. What is it, like 7,700?
Yeah, he's basically the same as Montas.
Yeah, I would have
a little more than Montas.
Yeah, a little bit more. I would have him on the outside of that core that I said that I like. He would be like the next one that I would go to.
Waka, I think, is playable too. I'm not thrilled about it. So Michael's telling us. Go ahead. What do you got?
I said only on DraftKings. He said I think Waka's playable, but
not playable on FanDuel. Yeah, he might not be playable on DK either. We'll see. Stay tuned, but he's on the fringe of playable. The Pistons have signed Malik Beasley, Paul Reed, and Tobias Harris. So there you go. And they signed Cunningham for a long-term deal too, which I guess they kind of had to do. But all right, get excited about that. Anything else as far as pitchers, Squirrel? I think it's pretty clear. Like, you guys are okay with the chalk. I think I am too. I think my main lineup, I'm going to get the Logan Webb. If that's a little bit different, so be it. But that's kind of where I'm at. It's not very deep. Anything else that needs to be said as far as pitchers, Squirrel? By all means, fire it off.
I do like the Tobias Myers call. I think he's a reasonable pivot from Frankie Montas. I just like Frankie Montas a little bit better, and Montas is a little bit cheaper. But I think, if you think that Frankie Montas is going to be really highly owned and you want a lower owned pivot, I think Tobias Myers is
good. Thomas is asking about Lorenzen. The Angels are pretty terrible. Kirk, would you have a take as far as Lorenzen by chance?
I don't really have much interest, I guess I could say. You're looking at a guy with a 17% K rate, 9% swinging strike rate, which is bad. So that matches the called strike whiffs is bad, 25%, and a walk rate at 11%. So it's like, and he's pretty expensive, no? He's 8,100. I just don't see how he could play that. Anything can happen. It's baseball. It's the Angels. Anything can happen. But there's no reason to play him.
Kirk, we're not getting the Juggalo bomb today. We're getting the the Dirk Diggler bomb. What do we call that? What are we getting today?
The Kirk Diggler.
Kirk Diggler. That's right.
Dong of the
There
day.
you go.
Yeah, that's Butthole coined that term. Butthole Jenkins, not me. I know you like to say that I make my own nicknames. Never true.
I like to say that.
Yeah.
Okay. We are 29 likes short, unfortunately, to give out 2 individual weeks of 1 week, RG premium. But we will go ahead and bring on producer Steve. We will spin the wheel and give away 1 week, 1 individual week to RotoGrinders premium. Steve, let's go ahead and spin that wheel.
Here, let me shuffle it up quick. All right. Jay Brunton.
Shout out to Jay Brunt. Is it rigged today or was it not rigged? I didn't see it in the chat. Eric is telling us it was rigged.
It's rigged.
Wait, didn't he win last time?
It's rigged. I'm pretty sure he did win last time.
Oh boy. Let's give it another. Let's
Well, we gotta go all the way back. We gotta look through everything.
No, he's gonna win.
Check the tapes.
We'll do another one because I am pretty sure it was him last time.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, we wouldn't take it away. Yeah. In addition to, let's give out a second one.
This is suspicious stuff.
Very shady.
Dunk.
Who I believe won, and again, not going to take it away, but I believe Dunk is the one who won Movie Monday on Monday. So, hell of a week there for Dunk.
Look at these guys.
Pretty sure it was the same person.
Just gets shadier and shadier.
Well, why would I out the shadiness? So, that would be kind of a weird strategy to point it out. Hey, you know what? You could just go ahead and pay for RG Premium. How about that? Never a better time. MLB, PGA, MMA, squirrels in those MMA streets. WNBA, if you want to commit to 6 months, you get $250 off the original the price as opposed to going month by month by month by month. If you pay for 6 months up front, you get $250 off. You want just 1 month, you get $40 off. Check out the links in the description. You want just a tease. You want a 3-day tease. That's also available, 19 and change. All right, we're going to bring up our tiers in just a second. Squirrel Patrol. Squirrel was the leader of our tiers. Squirrel, let's have the chat before you kind of reveal the board. Chat, tell us. You got to be of a certain age, too, to tell us. Your 80s cartoons. Best and worst 80s cartoons.
Early
your
80s.
Best on it. Early 80s. This is Squirrel's board. Tell us your least favorite and your favorite cartoons from the 80s. Squirrel, your board's going to be popping up in just a second. Feel free to explain your board. Derek is telling us Smurfs. Alex says G.I. Joe. Smurfs, very popular in the chat. Voltron. The Simpsons, you didn't really get to that because that was kind of a different category, I think. Late 80s, early 90s, and still today. But board's popping up in just a second. Producer team's going to throw it up there. But tell us your thought process here, Squirrel.
Sure. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, people are saying in chat like Scooby-Doo is a clear omission. Although Scooby-Doo might have been late 70s. I'm feeling like Scooby-Doo was like 60s, 70s. I was trying to aiming for stuff that was like created in the 80s. Might have missed. I'm going off some vague memories here. But yeah, I think Transformers is number one. I think with like the legacy that's created, the movies, the toys, everything, like I think that's pretty straightforward. At least I thought about like, some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and maybe I should have swapped that in somewhere. I looked it up. I think that was started in '86, which is why I kind of like made the stipulation early '80s.
Such a stickler.
I think Transformers number one, DuckTales number two. If it's got like the Disney partnership or Disney Alliance or whatever. I think that was something I wanted to represent, and then it has like the iconic like Scrooge McDuck diving into the gold coins, like produced a bunch of memes forever. So I think you got to go with DuckTales. Voltron number three, I think could have been higher. Could have swapped back and forth. Between DuckTales, Smurfs number four, good show. Some questionable stuff going on there. Like, why is there just one girl? Yes, just an unanswered question, and they could never, they never really addressed that. Although I think there was like a Gargamel reference earlier, one of the GrindersLive like earlier this week.
Because the mascot for San Diego, the Friar, looks like Gargamel.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And
maybe that's what triggered this whole thing. That's what got me thinking about cartoons.
And then
subliminally.
Was, Alvin and the Chipmunks, just too squeaky. I think most people would agree, just too squeaky.
Wow, I love them.
Well, the records, like that's probably what we're referencing as well. You ever listen to the records of them singing?
Yeah. They used to do all songs. I used to get that.
I'll have you know that I was a guest at Grant Neefer. You guys know Grant Neefer. I was a guest at his house, and he had power of remote, and he forced me to watch the Alvin and the Chipmunks movie. And I'm like, "You're watching this like sarcastically?" He's like, "No, I like this." What are we doing, Grant?
Inspector Gadget. That's another one too.
That is another one. By the way, I just I hit up the IMDb. Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Was a TV show from 1969 to 1978. So yeah, the Scooby-Doos you were watching in the 80s, I'm pretty sure, or the 90s, whenever you watch them, I'm sure they updated it and they reboots all over the place. But yeah, they were not originals. All right. Heathcliff getting a little bit of love there in chat as well. I'm aware I didn't really watch
what there was a show right after Heathcliff because I used to watch Jetsons, Heathcliff, and then something, but I don't remember. I remember the Heathcliff was always better.
Well, it depends on the market.
Oh, wait, what was
always on?
Wait a minute.
At the same time.
Garfield?
No, there was something.
There's a correlation. It makes sense. If you like Heathcliff, there's a Venn diagram. If you like Heathcliff, you probably like Garfield too. Devin in chat telling us Chipmunk's Christmas album is a prime example of undying tradition that maybe should have considered dying. Yeah. Who was it you, Kirk? No, it was Chop. Chop the other day was saying how much he loves Christmas music, which kind of took me aback because I didn't know a lot of people champion outside of maybe the day of whatever, but just like
I need to add we need more diversity here. I can't believe we overlooked Fat Albert.
Well, no, it wasn't. Some people in chat mentioned Fat Albert. Yeah, I feel like that was like 70s though. I feel like that was earlier than the 80s, but I could be wrong. But again, I think that's what technical.
Yeah, I used to watch that too. All that right after school.
What time was that on?
Dennis the Menace.
I think Fat Albert has a complicated legacy.
That's 72, by the way. Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids, 72 to 85. So there you go. They couldn't even.
It's pretty funny that you can't make a fat cartoon anymore. Fat's anybody these days. Can you?
Also Bill Cosby.
Well, I think there's a different legacy, I believe that.
The Cosby, different the Cosby legacy, absolutely.
All right, let's go ahead and dive in. 10 gamer, going to go game by game as far as ranking where we're going to put our teams and the tiers. If you love the team, they're going to go in Transformers. You don't love the team, they're going to go in Alvin the Chipmunks. If you're kind of in the middle, they will end up in Voltron. I feel like Voltron was like mostly known for the toys. Is that fair to say? The toys were like all the rave. The 5 individual. What were they called? I don't remember what they were called individually.
Connected together, yeah.
Which was brilliant. It was really brilliant.
In my research, I was trying to think of like a Voltron character, and I couldn't. And I looked up a list. I'm like, I don't recognize any of these, but I remember them all connecting and fighting. Yeah, so it was more about the toys, bro.
I think every episode, like they got their butt kicked for the first like 20 minutes, and they said, "Hey, I have an idea. Let's all remember that thing we did the last 20 episodes. Let's try that again. Oh, yeah, it's gonna work again." And then they win, whoever they fought. I don't remember who they fought. But all right. Very first game we're going to talk about here is the Dodgers. Well, no, that's Skeletor. That's He-Man, right? That's not the foe of Voltron, right? Was there a reason why Skeletor just popped up on the screen? Did I miss something?
I was just reading the comments and saw a lot of He-Man.
Oh, okay. I missed that. Hey, it's me. Kevin says My Little Pony was fire. There you go. I
really thought about putting My Little Pony on here and being last because like the more recent My Little Ponies are so much better than the 80s. Like the reboot is like just kicks the pants off of the original 80s My Little Ponies.
Do you watch the new ones with I guess your child? You catch bits and pieces?
I've watched every single My Little Pony. I think it's like 8-9 seasons. And there are some emotional episodes on there too. Like there's really this gets like complex. There was like an Animal Farm, like kind of like path they went down. I think starting season 5, it started a very different tone from the previous
Russian
season.
politics it gets into.
Yeah, it really does. It gets into like socialism and like I was like, oh wow, okay, My Little Pony's like kind of stepping out there. But the My Little Pony, like excellent. The more recent ones and the movie that was just released, much better than the 80s.
Squirrel won the coin toss backstage, so he's going to go first. Dodgers, Philadelphia, Gavin Stone taking on Christopher Sanchez. Philadelphia does have a team total of 5, despite the fact there's no Bryce Harper. Dodgers 4.5. There's no Will Smith, so both these lineups weakened a little bit. Where are you putting the Dodgers and the Phillies on this board?
So I'm gonna go ownership considered. I think so. I think I'm gonna put Phillies down at Smurfs. I'm a little bit concerned, and I think you put them at Voltron, but I think for me maybe Smurfs. I think they're going to be overowned. Like I think Bryce Harper not being in the lineup takes a bit out. Gavin Stone not a pushover as a pitcher. It's not that I hate the team, and they'll be certainly 150 lineups will be represented. But I'm kind of down on them, so I think I'll put them in Smurfs. And I like always generally like playing road teams more than home teams. Dodgers. I think you're going to be DuckTales for me. And they're close to Transformers. Like I think they're not going to be owned enough. I think they're going up against Valdez. They crush left-handed pitching all season, and I think people aren't going to go there because they were used to seeing them up there with the implied run totals, right? Like one of the first couple of teams on the list. Like they're facing a good pitcher, but maybe not a great pitcher. And so I think they're going to be underowned. I don't think people are going to roster them anywhere near the way they should, considering this team leads the league in slugging percentage and WOBA and all the versus left-handed pitching. So I think for me, Dodgers Transformers or DuckTales. I'll go Transformers, and Phillies I'll put in Smurfs.
Kirkwood, agree, disagree?
I wanted to agree originally, and then I looked and Christopher Sanchez just does not give up home runs, and either does Gavin Stone.
A lot of ground balls.
They have the lowest. Christopher Sanchez has a 0.18 home run per 9. Granted, can regress, all that, whatever. You can say he's been lucky. You can obviously point to the weather as a big plus. So I do like that fact. But yeah, I was thinking of kind of being underweight on both. To be underweight on both of these teams. But so I would actually put the Dodgers down to Voltron, and I'd put them both in Voltron.
So you'd move Philly up and the Dodgers down.
I'll add an amendment before you make a decision. I forgot Will Smith's not in the lineup, so I think I would definitely put DuckTales.
It's Austin Barnes Day.
Yeah. We'll put Philly in Voltron. So you want him in Voltron, Kirkwood? You want to move them up?
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, they're fine either way. But yeah, I would have put them.
That's what I heard you say.
That's where I would put them. I would put them both in Voltron. But
by the way, Giants lineup is out, and Soler not in there again. Wade, Ramos, Bailey, Chapman, Conforto, Estrada, Yaz, Wisely, and Casali. Got the Brewers. Let's see. Churio, Contreras, Yelich, Adames, Frelick, Hoskins, Perkins, Monasterio, and Terang in the 9-hole. Angels lineup came out. Let's see. We don't have. Do we have our guy Keston Hiura? We do not. We have no Joe Adele as well. So Logan O'Hoppe, who banged a couple homers out yesterday, he's in there, but otherwise it's kind of a mess. Ward is hitting third. Okay. Next game, that is yours, Kirkwood. Next game up is Oakland and Boston. Boston, one of the biggest totals on the board. Facing the left-hander. Left-hander here is, sorry, my scrolling to get to the right page. JP Sears, Pavetta for Boston. Boston, huge favorite here, almost a minus 200 favorites. Biggest total on the board as well, almost 6 against JP Sears. One thing I don't like is Devers left on left. He's not been good this year. Best hitter on Boston, but certainly in a stack. Of course, you play Devers. He just doesn't want to jump off the page for me. What do you have here, Kirkwood? Red Sox, Athletics.
I'm going right back to the Red Sox again. They're at the top of the list for me. It's Oakland. It's in extremely great hitting weather here today. This is the game I want to be. I think it goes off again. Oakland, I'm not so sure what to do because obviously I like Pivetta, but I mean, he does give up a lot of power to right-handed batters. So like guys like Andujar, Rooker, as Cheese would say, Langeliers, and Geloff. Like I think all these guys have home run upside. So I think we have. I like them as like mini stacks or fill-in pieces. So I'll put them in DuckTales or Voltron.
You gotta commit to one, otherwise you're gonna throw Steve off.
If it's the whole stack, it'll be Voltron. If we're going to a mini stack, it would be DuckTales. So do with that as you will.
Squirrel?
Yeah. So I would knock the Red Sox down 1 to DuckTales, but I think it's close. And the A's, yeah, I'd probably keep them at Voltron. I mean, it's good hitting weather. It obviously, like, I wish Oakland, was the home team somehow, right? Like, then I would definitely knock them lower and move the Red Sox up. Like, I don't love playing these like highly owned home teams, but Red Sox might have to be an exception. One thing I like you kind of mentioned, like I might play a Red Sox stack and not play Devers, do something like that. So yeah, I'll keep Red Sox as Transformers and keep the A's at Voltron.
Yeah, Devers is like still pretty good. 167 ISO, 317 WOBA, but also strikes out at a huge number, 35% versus lefties. The other thing I was thinking about is when Oakland throws in a righty, Abreu, Hamilton. Is Hamilton in the lineup? He's not, right? Abreu's not in the lineup. Dom Smith not in the lineup. I think there's a lot of pinch hit alert stuff here for Boston. I don't like to freak out about that, but I'm on pinch hit alert for Boston. Pretty strong. Refsnyder can go. Gonzalez very likely to go. Westbrook has got a decent chance to go from this game too. Just sort of throwing that out there. Obviously, it doesn't mean you can't play him. And if, everything is situation dependent, but if they need a hit and the score's like 5-5 and the lefty comes out and the righty's coming in, pretty good chance, Westbrook or if they're up, Gonzalez probably gone. Okay. So we have Boston in, I guess, Squirrel, you had him in DuckTales. So I got to make a call here. And you're factoring in ownership too, I imagine too, right? Because they're going to be pretty popular, I think.
I think I might have landed on Transformers, but it's close.
Okay. I'm sorry. Then we're good. I think we're good. I love the idea of playing both sides of Pivetta and Oakland. If I'm not playing Pivetta, I want a homer hunt with Oakland. I think I can definitely see him getting one or maybe possibly two. Big ballpark jump, a lot of power on this team, combined with Pivetta's fly ball issues, his barrel issues, and his home run issues. He's got the second biggest homers per 9 on the slate at 1.7. And that's at a 15% homer to fly ball, which is not extravagant. And we talk about the weather being pretty good there too. Okay, let's move on. Let's go back to Colorado and Cincy. What's weird is that they're the third team on FanDuel. Yeah, I know producer Steve was looking at the lineup HQ, but I think it's different depending if you're on FanDuel or DK. But the next game is Colorado and Cincy. Squirrel, the board is yours. You've already talked about liking the pitching there, at least on the Cincinnati side. Where do we have the Reds and the Rockies?
So just starting the Rockies, I think I'd put them in Smurfs, and they're probably my team that would be last in the Smurfs category. But they're getting, it's not like a ballpark upgrade, right? Like it's a slate. They're only getting a slate ballpark downgrade. That's the argument for them. We said like Frankie Montas, I love the price, but he's an average pitcher. So I guess there will be some leverage if he ends up as high owned as we are projecting. So yeah, I think you can put them in Smurfs. You can play them. I don't think that you'll be the only person, like if you play a 5-man Rocky stack, the only person that's sitting there thinking like, oh, I'm going to get leverage on Frankie Montas. But it's possible, right? Reds, I'm going to put them. I think I'm going to put them up at DuckTales. But again, I could be talking into Transformers pretty easily. They're just good team. They kind of do everything. Like they can hit for some power, they can steal bases, and they can strike out a lot. So it's great. They're a great team. They're kind of always on our radar for DFS. Not really worried about the matchup with Kyle Freeland. So yeah, I'll put them up at DuckTales.
Any issues for you, Kirkwood?
I would put the Reds there. I put them at the top. It's Colorado. Their bullpen is so bad. There's a lot of these guys that can power hit lefties. This Reese Hines kid is just going off, and I played him last night. I actually bubbled. I was really annoying. I had the two worst pitchers with all the bats. But anyway, this kid's incredible. He's just been smashing the ball. Highest, I think at the hardest hit homer. I think he's in contention for one of the hardest hit homers of the season, and he's just a rookie. Just came in. But anyway, great story. I like him. I like Ellie De La Cruz. If you just get he's the Billy Hamilton home run every time he gets on. Did you like him how he was? Did you see that how he was telling Steer to steal so he could steal because he was stuck behind him?
Yeah, that was pretty funny. I saw that clip.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what I like. I like some of these guys who are just willing to keep, go for it. Candelario can hit a bomb. Steer can hit a bomb. Stevenson hit a bomb yesterday. Now gets a matchup with a lefty. Great ballpark, decent weather. Let's go. On the other side, I'm with Squirrel. I'd put them down in the Smurfs. I just don't really have that much I just don't have that much interest at all in taking them, even against Montas and all the leverage and whatnot. Leverage would be the case, but yeah, I'm out on them.
I don't think Hines was like a huge prospect. I'm looking at his old prospect status. I'm seeing on FanGraphs. So I have him 16th, and that's in 2022. I don't know why I'm getting an update in that, but it is worth noting. Like he does the things we like. In 2023 in Double-A, he had 23 homers and 20 stolen bases. In 2024, this year in just 328 plate appearances, 13 home runs and 12 stolen bases. So we care about the counting stats, and that's things. And also he's on the right team for stealing too. I would assume they would let him go because that seems to be a team philosophy. And he's super cheap still. The price is not adjusted. Okay. Kirkwood, Washington, taking on producer Steve's Mets, Severino versus Corbin, 9.5 total. There is a extreme pitcher's umpire in this game for what it's worth, but the Mets have a 5.5 team total. They're big favorites here, minus 200. Where do you have the Metropolitans and the Nationals?
I got the Mets right at the top there. It pains me to do that, but today is Steve gets his day. But the last thing I want to do, though, is be in on these Mets in my high dollar, smaller field stuff and have a bunch of tweets coming out from Steve later about the Mets suck. They ruin it, gutless, all that. And but anyways, the Mets it's against Patrick Corbin. Great weather. They've been hot with ever since Grimace, the whole Grimace thing. I mean, they're just hitting the ball well. They match up good. Alonso, Alvarez has been smoking the ball lately. JD's been coming back to life. Nimmo can hit lefties. Lindor has been great. So yeah, I'm on board with them. The other side of it, you could. I let Squirrel do it, and I'll just agree with him because he knows his team better. But I kind of like Washington. I like what they're doing. I like Abrams. I like Wood. I like Winker's been hitting really strong. Lane Thomas is now down batting 6th. Just great. You can get a cheap stack if you use Yepes. So I would have them. I'm definitely interested. So I'll leave them in Voltron unless Squirrel wants to go higher or lower.
Go for it, Squirrel.
So I agree. I think the Mets are transformers. And they may be my favorite stack on the day. It's close. But they crush Patrick Corbin, and Corbin has to keep facing them over and over again because they're in the same division. I think over the last couple of years, 4 starts, 20 innings, 21 total innings, 20 earned runs allowed. It's pretty rare you see an implied run total this high for the Mets in Citi Field because it's a pitching ballpark. And then speaking of which, Nationals, I probably would move them down to Smurfs. I don't hate them. They can steal some bases, but it's probably just not the day for them against Luis Severino. It's a good pitching ballpark. So, yeah, probably keep them at Smurfs. I mean, they're not unplayable, but there's no real reason for me to run and play the Nationals today.
What about as minis or one-offs? Like shortstop is such a tough position, but certainly C.J. Abrams has the ability to swipe a bag or two, go yard as well. James Wood, of course, we know about his power from the left side. Severino, it's where he struggles. Do you like these guys as one-offs or mini stacks?
Probably not
No?
that much, to be honest. It's just like there's so many good shortstops today, right? Like I'd much rather play Francisco Lindor, like make him a guy I'm make an effort to pay up for. Same thing with Corey Seager, Ellie De La Cruz. Like I'd much rather, like I agree. Like Abrams has some upside, and have much lower ownership. It's just expensive, like 6,300. That's a lot to pay. Like I'd much rather just play like Francisco Lindor, Corey Seager, maybe even like Trey Turner or Ellie De La Cruz.
Just got the Pirates, by the way. No O'Neal Cruz again. This is FanDuel only, Squirrel. Waka. No, this is DK only. Waka versus Gordon. Gordon Gecko. How do we pronounce this dude's last name? He's a reliever, right? I think he's mostly worked in relief. Maybe in the minors he's been stretched out a little bit. Back half of the doubleheader, KC won the first one 6-4. Wanted to see if there's anything distinctly different as far as the lineups. I think they just DH'd, right? They're playing Perez and Fermin again, but I think they flip-flopped them, one DH early, then they're catching late. But yeah, KC won the first game 6-4 for what it's worth. Squirrel, Kansas City, St. Louis, Waka getting a little bit of revenge versus old team. Cardinals, Royals, what do you got for me?
Yeah, so I think I'm going to put the Cardinals right down at Alvin and the Chipmunks. Just looking at Waka, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 starts in a row with either 1 or 2 earned runs allowed. Like he's not somebody that's always popping up on our radar for DFS because he doesn't strike out a bunch of guys, but he doesn't give up a lot of runs either. So I think St. Louis down in Alvin and the Chipmunks, and I think I'm going to put the Royals in Voltron. I don't love the team, but you can always play some Bobby Witt, some Salvador Perez. Like they have power, and then they'll steal some bases occasionally. So yeah, like the counting stats, like you said, like the stuff we're interested in. So I'll put them. I don't love it, but I'll put them in Voltron.
Kirkwood, any qualms?
No, I'm good though.
We shall move on. Next game is Pittsburgh versus Milwaukee. Again, we just got that Pittsburgh lineup, and the absence of Cruz once again certainly hurts them to some degree. We have Martin Perez, another guy who's just kind of tough to stack against historically, taking on Tobias Myers. Myers is the favorite here versus the Pirates. Team total of 4.8 for Milwaukee, almost a 4 team total for Pittsburgh. Pretty good ballpark, so you get the ballpark jump for Pittsburgh, but again, not the best iteration that you typically get if everybody was healthy. Where do you have Milwaukee and Pittsburgh, Kirkwood?
Yeah, I just don't have interest really in either one of these teams, and maybe I should. They're both. I mean, Pittsburgh went off yesterday for sure. I don't mind taking like some of the best bats on Pittsburgh, even though I like Myers tonight in this matchup. Like that would be like Brian Reynolds, or if you want a cheap, home run, maybe you go Rowdy again after you hit one yesterday. But I'm not really that high on them overall, and then so I'll put them in Smurfs, and then Milwaukee. I mean, I've been martingaling Martin Perez my whole entire DFS career. Is tonight the night? Do I stop now?
I mean, yeah, it happens on occasion, but he seems to be a tough guy to stack against. I think his ground balls have gone down a little bit over the years, 43% this season. He used to be a little bit stronger when it comes to that. He's given up more homers as well, 1.3 homers this season. The strikeouts, of course, aren't really there, 17%. He'll walk a few too many guys sometimes, 7%, but he just sort of finds a way. Over almost a 5 ERA this year, so he's not been good. So sure, you can definitely play Milwaukee against him. Let's see what Squirrel has to say. Where do you have Milwaukee and Pittsburgh? Any issues with where Kirkwood has them? Pittsburgh and Smurfs. Milwaukee right in the middle, hanging out with Voltron.
Yeah, actually, I think that's exactly where I would put these teams. I'd much rather play Tobias Myers than play the Pirates, but I mean they're certainly not unplayable, right? We just saw that last night. Just not running out to play them, right? Like they fit right in with the Nationals of like, I just don't. They're fine. And I think the Brewers maybe a little bit better than fine. Right? They're fine too, I guess, but a better version of fine landing in Voltron.
Officially, Pittsburgh's lineup is McCutchen, Reynolds, Tellez, Gonzalez, Palacio, Ke'Bryan Hayes, Sawinski, Bartman, who banged out a homer last night, Granny, I believe, and Triolo. We got 3 games left. No Texas lineup just yet. It's Griffin Canning taking on Michael Lorenzen. This is your board, Squirrel. Texas is the favorite here, minus 130. Yeah, I don't see any reason not to expect. I did see a Dallas Garcia. You know how they say like the home run derby takes away, hurts you if you compete in the home run derby. Like in the back half, there's people that have data. And Bobby Abreu might point to. I don't know. Maybe it'll help him. Maybe it'll find his homer stroke because Dallas Garcia was announced that he's going to be participating in the home run hitting contest. Well, I guess it makes sense, right? It's in Texas. So I had to get a Texas representative. He did bang one out last night, though. So there you go. He's on his way. Langford's come around as well of late, too. But, yeah, Griffin Canning, not very good. And that bullpen is really heavily worked. I think they played like 7 games in a row. I was looking at the Angels. And they have no breaks till the rest of the season either. They're going to play, 15 straight games or something like that. Squirrel, where do you have Texas and the Angels?
So I'll put Texas in DuckTales. I think I'll actually just leave them where they are, where Steve put them. I think I'll put Texas in DuckTales. They'll be a little bit heavily owned, so that's maybe a bit of a negative on them. But other than that, like Griffin Canning is going to give up a home run to Corey Seager tonight. So yeah,
What's happening?
I'll put them in DuckTales. And then Angels, they're okay. You talk me into Voltron. It's a good ballpark for home runs. But again, it's not going to try to avoid Michael Lorenzen. But it's just not a fantastic lineup. So yeah, I'll put Angels and Voltron, Texas and DuckTales.
When you say I talked to you in the Voltron, that is producer Steve. That's producer Steve moving stuff around. That's him doing he likes to play his own game. He plays the home version. He guesses where they're going to go, and he'll shuffle them around if he's wrong. But yeah, I guess is that where he put the Angels? I think that's where he put the Angels, or maybe that's Smurfs. We're just going to bounce them back and forth. I would not have put the Angels in Voltron personally, but let's see what Kirkwood has to say.
Yeah, my Angels, I would lower one down to Smurfs, and Texas, I'm good. Right, they're kind of like that second. They're really close to the top tier, but just under it. So that's perfect there with DuckTales.
Yeah, if you would have went up top,
it's a great spot for all the lefties.
Yeah, I think we'll see what we get as far as the lineup. We had Jonah Heim scratched yesterday. I'm not sure what the severity of that was, but obviously he's better than the backup, who was actually, I think they're both scheduled to play yesterday, but as far as the DH, but we'll see what kind of iteration they roll out today. But all right, let's move on. I believe they have just 1 or 2 more games, about 5 minutes to go until crunch time comes in. You got Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood. You got TJ Zwarych. You got chief mineralogist Kevin Roth. Yeah, our timing is beautiful. 2 more games. The Braves in Arizona in the desert. Slade Ciccone taking on old man Charlie Morton. 9 total. Kirkwood, your board. A true coin toss according to Vegas. Where do you have the Braves and the D-backs?
Well, I look at his home run to fly ball. I look at his home run per 9, and I look, even though this is all small sample stuff, I look at his fly ball percentage and the power bats of the Braves, who are heating up again. So I like the Braves tonight. So I would put the Braves in DuckTales just because of the home run upside of all these guys. I hate that. I hate that center field in Arizona.
The wall's like 50 feet high.
Yeah,
it's like a monster in center field. Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
It's far away too.
Yeah. And then on the other side, Morin's one of the better pitchers on the slate. He is boomer bust, but I just don't see it tonight. So I don't mind taking bats, and it depends if I'm playing cash. Certainly, there's a couple of bats on the Arizona side that I could play, but and they always have the upside. Carroll, Marte, Jock should be playing. Did they make the line? The little Jock revenge against his own team again?
Carroll, Marte, Peterson. Every once in a while they'll hook.
Put them right there in the middle because they have upside, and they've got some guys who'll steal some bags.
Let's see. We got Arizona in Voltron, Atlanta in DuckTales. Squirrel, that work for you or not so much?
I'd actually move the Braves up to Transformers. So it's just Tony, not somebody I'm looking to avoid. He's got a home ERA for his career of 8.27. And I like the idea. The Braves get those ninth inning at bats no matter what happens. We know they've got some power. they got some lefties that can hit right-handers well, but Citrone actually is a little bit reverse splitsy, so he tends to give up more home runs to slugging to right-handers. So yeah, I'm gonna put the Braves up in Transformers, but I'll keep the Diamondbacks in the front.
I think there's some ownership stuff in play as well. They're going to be kind of ignored. On FanDuel, you get a really cheap Matt Olson. I would just throw. He's like 3.2 or something over there, which is just a really, really good price. Probably somebody who play in cash games. 5.1 on DK is fine as well. I'll agree with Squirrel. We'll keep the top tier is pretty. It's pretty loaded
with that.
And again, I would consider throwing Texas in that top tier too. I think you could argue 5 teams up top. I don't think you can argue either one of these teams in the last game, but you guys feel free to make the argument. Kirkwood, Blue Jays, Giants, 7 total. Giants are favored here. Logan Webb, one of the best pitchers in the bump, real life pitchers in the bump, taking on the Blue Jays. We hate this ballpark for offense as well. Bassett versus Webb. Can you muster up any excitement when it comes to these stacks tonight, or not so much?
No, I mean they're both two really good pitchers. Logan Webb being close to a great pitcher, not someone who gives up a lot of production or runs against. So in this ballpark, there's like we're arguing that we have that we should be putting more teams in this top tier. Kind of tells me everything I need to hear. That I don't need to waste my time with the Giants and Toronto. I just don't see it happening. So I'm going to put them both in the bottom.
Hanging out with Alvin, Simon, Theodore, Dave. Was that their owner? Dave, is that the guy's name? Does that sound right? Not sure. Yeah, do we agree? Do we disagree with that, Squirrel? Hanging out with the Chipmunks.
Yeah, I'm actually going to leave it right as it is. I think Blue Jays in one of the worst spots. Giants, I'd probably be more inclined to put them, in. I think they belong in Smurfs. Like they've got an implied run total. It's almost a full run higher than the Blue Jays. So I feel like you've got to put them above the Blue Jays. But I'd be more inclined to like lower them than raise them. I think it's just a ballpark thing. Like this park is just not good for giving up runs. You've got 2 pretty good pitchers going. It's just not a game I'm interested in from the offensive side.
I will agree, and I did goof. My bad. I did skip Miami and Houston. I just didn't want to talk about the Marlins, I guess. Houston, probably another team, not to lead the witness, you consider throwing in the top tier as well. Squirrel, if we can do this quickly, I know crunch time is knocking in the door. They'll be in here shortly. Houston and the Marlins. Wait, did we talk about them? Or did we not talk about? Okay, we didn't. Okay, yeah, because I see them moving around. I'm like, no, they weren't there before, right? So where do we have the Astros and the Fish?
I would actually put the Marlins all the way down and Alvin and the Chipmunks. Just a bad offense. Like I don't know what they're in. Like they're even worse against left-handers. So yeah, Alvin and the Chipmunks for the Marlins. Astros, I'll actually knock down a little bit to Voltron. Not crazy about playing them either. Obviously, you've got Jordan Alvarez can always break a slate, but just not my favorite team tonight. So I'll stick him right in the middle of Voltron.
I think you could argue Jordan's like the best bat on this slate, individual bat. Like if you're going to pay up for one, in the cash game, you have the money for it. If you want to make that argument, so be it. By the way, what not lost to me that Squirrel Patrol put the worst tiered category with Chipmunks. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but that's something that popped in my head. Any issues here, Kirkwood? Hopefully not too much to quibble about because crunch time is knocking on the door. If nothing else, give me your Kirk Diggler bomb if you have one for me.
I mean, so this one has to hit. So it can be chalky, but like if it's going to qualify as a Kirk Diggler dong of the day, then it's got to be Tyler O'Neill. Didn't homer yesterday, but he gets the lefty-now matchup in Fenway with this heat, this humidity, and the wind blowing. He's gonna crush one tonight.
We see Dave hanging out in the bullpen, hanging out in the chat. He was curious about our board. We'll discuss that in a second. Let's go ahead and bring in crunch time. Yeah, Dave. So Squirrel took the lead today, and he ranked 80 specific cartoons.
He's fired unless I hear something unexpected.
Are you a big chipmunk guy?
Yeah, of course. What are we? That's a fantastic. How can that be at the bottom of any list?
I agree. I loved them.
Too squeaky. I'm a squirrel fan. So
I guess you're mortal enemies. Maybe I'll give you a pass on the chipmunks. I was thinking about the squirrel chipmunk dynamic. Yeah.
Anybody else with any issues? I don't know if you had a chance to see the board. TJ, I saw you nodding along. And Roth, I don't know if you had any. Well, TJ, you're not old enough to, I don't think, to have any sort. You've probably seen, GIFs or movies based upon, but you're aware of the, the existence of these things. I think. Any thoughts?
Yeah, know what all of them are. Have seen clips or portions of all of them, especially like Transformers. But no, not none of those are in my Saturday morning cartoon wheelhouse.
You got anything, Roth?
TJ? No, I'm with TJ. I was watching X-Men or I was playing video games, and that was pretty much that.
How hectic is your house, Roth? Do you still have visitors? Do you still have people hanging out because their power's out? You still being a good neighbor and a good friend?
We just kicked out the last family. I mean, they got their power back, I should say. Like they were able to leave.
Just booted them.
Yeah.
For the last time, I told you, put pants on.
So we are alone now, but there's still a lot of people out there without power. So like my wife and I are debating, like, should we invite them or should we let them swelter and suffer? Like how good of friends are we? Do we invite them into our home?
How annoying are they after 3 hours?
Exactly. It's, you got to balance it.
Everything else good otherwise, Roth?
Life is good. Yeah.
You know these people you let in your house, but I'm curious now, just kind of popped in my head. When you meet new people, what do you say when somebody says, what do you do for a living? How vague do you keep it? Because you can get there's a lot of follow-up questions if you give them specifics.
Yeah, no, I go right into it. I am a weatherman for sports, and it just blows people's minds. Yeah.
You're a one of one.
Yeah.
And what do you say, Squirrel, when somebody asks you what you do for a living?
Yeah, it's a good question. I usually start with like, like FanDuel and DraftKings, and then I kind of go into it from there. I used to just leave out content entirely. Oh yeah, I just play FanDuel and DraftKings, and then I had like a blow up negative reaction once. Somebody who was not a fan of gambling, and now I tend to lead with I do content for like sports and fantasy football too, and that kind of thing.
That's also how I'd word it for myself. But Roth, I got to interject and say it's a little bit diminutive, a little bit disrespectful to use the term weatherman. So you're actually a meteorologist for sports.
It's true. I prefer that nomenclature, but also, I keep it simple. I don't want to overcomplicate it.
For the very first time the other day, I watched Twister, Roth. I've never seen Twister before.
Tell me everything.
So I watched it for the very first time, and the Twisters is coming out. I know you're excited about it. I'm sure I'll watch it at some point. But they mentioned weatherman several times, and he was like proud. He's like, I'm a weatherman. He mentioned, but for like what 1993 or something. What did that? It holds up pretty well. All things. I thought it would be worse. It was pretty entertaining for what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll watch the new one. It's not terrible, and put that on the back of the DVD. Not that they make those anymore.
It's legitimately good. Twister is awesome, and the new movie is going to be sick. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. I've been watching some older movies of late, just like some that just kind of passed me by. But there you go. That's one that just it popped up in the queue. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Twisters are hot these days. Anyways, we should probably step aside. You guys, we have plenty of time for crunch time. Kirkman, what do you tell people you do for a living? I'm curious.
You do the same thing. We all do the same. What do you do? You heard of DraftKings? And so everyone just assumes you work for DraftKings at the end of the conversation when they don't know. But you know what? That's why RotoGrinders is like important to me. Like at least is like when you're only for like family purposes. It's like at least there's a company behind like whatever. It's like, oh, you heard of RotoGrinders? Well, we do some content for them. They're a company out of Tennessee, and if you didn't have that, it would be I gamble, which is never a good thing to just say.
All right. By the way, did we get your homer? We got your homer, right? I believe you dropped there earlier on the show. I think it was.
Well, just say Corey Seager's gonna hit a homer, but I'll add Pete Alonso just because he always hits a home run off Patrick Corbin. Not that we look at that thing.
Going out on a limb with home run calls. Like this is all. You're disappointing me all over the place, Squirrel.
But I will add Teoscar Hernandez for something a little bit more off the board. And if we're really trying to go a little bit lower, I'll go Tyler Stevens.
I didn't see if Grant had his video today, but I would be very disappointed if Grant did not pump out Pete Alonso today versus Patrick Corbin. He does have 5 in his career. But to be fair, he's faced Corbin 57 times, 46 official plate appearances. So it's a big sample size. Like 5's not a crazy number, but certainly he jumps off the page. I'll take JD Martinez. I'll take another power rating.
I watch Grant's video every day. It's one of my favorite things because I want to see how he says the name Pete Alonso. Does he build it up? Where's the drama? Can confirm Pete Alonso is one of his 3 or 4 picks.
Yeah, I saw people in his chat. All you do, I saw the comments. All you do is say Pete Alonso every day.
Is he your brother?
Yeah.
Why do you love him so much? And then Grant gets in a math conversation and it blows everybody's mind. And they don't understand how math. Why don't you just pick Aaron Judge? Like he's leading the league. It's so simple.
Right.
Odds don't matter. All right. Let's step aside. Let's get out of here. Myself, Squirrel Patrol, Kirkwood, we do appreciate watching the first portion. Do hit that like button. Do subscribe. Turn those notifications too, so you know when we go live. But don't go anywhere because you got, wait for it, I think it's 45 minutes of MLB DFS conversation taking y'all at the first pitch. You got TJ Zwarych, you got Dave Potts, you have chief meteorologist, don't call him a weatherman, Kevin Roth. Roth, take it away.
Good stuff, as always, Dino and crew. Welcome to it, ladies and gents. You know the drill. It's crunch time. 2 of the sharpest minds in the biz taking you up to lock. We might take you through lock. We got TJ in the house. What up, TJ? You working on a little stash here, bud? Got a little stash going?
Not purposefully, but just kind of like for laziness out of shaving, and I don't grow a whole lot else. So that's
if
that's
you don't shave
that's
anything,
where it comes in first.
That's where it comes in first.
Oh, that's amazing. I think
Like there's some down here, but like it's just like
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I think you may need to pull a Dean and just grow a little stash there and see how it goes. I approve, TJ. Looking sharp. How you feeling about the slate?
It's fun. It's a good one. I think there's a lot of ownership congregating to a few players at pitching, which is kind of surprising for how big of a slate it is. Whereas a hitting standpoint is pretty spread out. So it's a pretty fun one.
Okay, very good. We got Dave Potts. Cheese is good. The man's so nice. He won the Millie twice. Cheese, how are you, good sir?
I'm doing good. I was just thinking, it's been a while since I've done a show with TJ where he's not playing the role of Kevin Roth and just playing the role of TJ. So this is fun.
You just get like locked in analysis, TJ. He doesn't have to do all the hosting and all the behind the scenes stuff. We need TJ to bring back the pencil. Oh, little Buffett. Wish I had a pencil thin mustache. You know that song? Cheese knows that song.
That was nice. Yeah.
It's a good one. TJ has no idea what I'm talking about. They don't listen to Buffett in Canada. Let's talk about this slate. Weather-wise, I don't think we have any concerns at all, really. The only spot where I think we've got a delay is Baltimore, and that's not on the slate. We don't care, right? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. I'm still going to update it because lately people have been loving being able to live bet the unders on innings pitched for these starting pitchers. It has just been crushing. It feels like cheating. I can see the rain approaching and tell people in 5 minutes there's going to be a rain delay and the pitchers are going to get bounced and then everybody makes a bunch of money. I love it. So I will probably do that if you're into the sports betting thing. But outside of that, no real weather concerns. And with that, we can just talk about the slate. Cheese, what do we got going on?
Yeah, like TJ alluded to right at the top, like there's some pretty heavy chalk on some pitchers who really aren't that good. With keeping in mind that none of the pitchers are really all that good. Like we're lacking for great pitching. And so the 2 pitchers, there's kind of 3 chalk on DraftKings, but the 2 who are chalk that aren't that good do have fantastic matchups and good price tags. So like I understand it. We're talking about Framber Valdez and Frankie Montas, with Nick Pivetta being the 3rd guy who's kind of chalky. Like I think those 3 make up the huge bulk of the ownership on DraftKings. I'll get to FanDuel in a second, but officially, like as much as I get it and like the matchups are great and especially Valdez like should be fine. It would be weird if he got shelled. But like, I just don't like playing below average pitchers as chalk. I mean, you could argue that Valdez isn't below average completely in real life with all the ground balls, but at least for DFS, he is below average. And Montas is just not good. Like he's not horrendous. But he should not, like, this guy should not be chalk in any world at any price in any matchup. I have a very small handful of Montas only because there's nothing cheaper than him. Like, the guys I like as pivots are a little bit more expensive than him. And then with Valdez,
are they better than him?
No, yes. Yeah, the guys who are like $600 and $700 more are better pitchers, but the matchups are not quite as good because he's facing Colorado. But I have like maybe 5% Montas, and I think the field will have 35 to 40, which I think is crazy. So if I only had like 10 lineups, I'd be full fading for sure.
Wow.
Valdez, I think it's fine. Like I have some, but I'm playing Chris Bassett ahead of him, and I'm playing Michael Wacha ahead of him, and I'm playing anywhere I can afford it. I'm playing Logan Webb and Nick Pivetta ahead of him. Like, it's just, he's just not good enough to be chalk. He'll probably be fine. But add Tobias Myers in with Wacha, and they're both just slightly cheaper than Valdez, and I just think they're better pitchers. So essentially, Pivetta, Wacha, Bassett, and Myers, those four are the bulk of my pitching pool, with Webb, Valdez, and Montas kind of as leftovers.
Wow. Okay. TJ, I want to bring you in here. I can't think of many days where Cheese is just like, I am essentially not fully fading, but mostly fading the top two highest owned dudes. Where do you stand? How are you going about your builds?
Yeah, so I'm playing 150 lineups today, and I have 0% of both of them.
I love you. This is why we need you on the show, because that's correct.
Wow.
I hope you win all of it.
It's just they both, like, Valdez has been broken lately. There's all these rumors he's dealing with injuries and pitching through it because he doesn't want to mess up his next contract. Montas, it's just, like she said, he's fine, but he's not very good, especially on a 10-game slate being 35% owned. No thanks. I'm getting rid of them today. The core of pitchers I have is basically the same as Cheese, but Logan Webb is also in the core. So I have 30 to 40% Bassett, Pivetta, Myers, Wacha, Webb in that order. So Webb is also my fifth pitcher, but I have 30% of them. And then I do have just gross little 5 to 10% shots on JP Sears and Kyle Freeland. Both of them are not good. Both of them are in really tough matchups, but those matchups, even though they come with a lot of power, they also come with a lot of strikeouts, and they're not strikeout pitchers, but you can get lucky, and they're both projecting for 2% owned today. So I'm taking shots on both of them.
Let me throw in, while TJ's saying that, I have my gross random 2% shot on Slade Kachoni. Same kind of thing as Sears and Freeland. Like, you probably get beat, but it's cheap, and hey, there you go.
Yeah. Okay.
So we didn't do FanDuel pitching.
I was about to say, because I did see someone saying, what about fading? I forget if it was, I think it was Montas over on FanDuel. Is there pricing differences there?
Yeah, so Montas is crazy cheap on FanDuel compared to the other pitchers, but you do not need salary. Like, I couldn't even spend all my salary in a lot of lineups with Pivetta. Pivetta is only $9K. I don't have a single lineup with anyone below Pivetta. And I have 0 Valdez on FanDuel. I only did maybe 20 lineups. I would definitely have 0 Valdez and 150 on FanDuel for sure. And I would play a little Logan Webb, maybe a little Chris Bassett. And if I did need a cheap guy, I would do Tobias Myers ahead of Montas. But essentially, I'm just playing Pivetta.
Okay. TJ, any other thoughts on FanDuel, or you just kind of in line there with what she said?
Yeah, Pivetta would be my sort of cash pitcher on FanDuel today. I would way rather play Tobias Myers than Frankie Montas. And then some lower owned tournament options I like would be Logan Webb and Chris Bassett.
Okay. Cheese, Jerry in the chat pointing out that I think you said this yesterday about Pirates pitching.
That was the greatest call of my life, honestly.
Yeah.
And I said it, I was all over it. I talked about it in the musings way too long about how I just think Quinn Priester's good. And he was reading, and he is. And it was glorious.
That's amazing. I'm glad to hear that. Because, we discussed.
I think he might have been the second highest scoring pitcher on the whole slate. Like, it was tremendous.
Right. You're like, this guy, every number shows he's not good. He's probably not good, but I just think he's good. And so I'm playing him. And it turns out he's good. Excellent job. And then one important question. Yeah, somebody said Cheese is like the kid who says he's going to fail and then always gets A's on the tests. Confirmed that did happen last night. Did get a question. What about cash pitching on DK? Right, you generally go with the safer, chalkier option, but we hate them.
I don't believe
like
they're safer. They're not safer.
Yeah,
I would personally go Pivetta Waka, assuming you can't afford Pivetta Webb.
yeah. Okay.
I would probably go Pavetta Bassett, assuming you can't afford Pavetta Webb, but I have no issue with Waka either. Even though the projections say the correct option is Valdez and Montas. If Cardi was here, he'd tell you you're playing Valdez and Montas in cash. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting stuff. This is an interesting slate. I approve. Let's talk about the bats and talk about the stacks. And TJ, you can lead us off there.
So I had 3 teams in kind of like my tier 1 of stacks today, with a 4th very, very close. So the Mets and Cincinnati are my 2 favorites. They're my 2 highest owned. They're the 2 I'm getting to the most. I mentioned I'm playing a little bit of free win against Cincinnati, and it's because Cincinnati is my highest owned stack today. The Mets are right behind them, and then Texas and Boston are my next 2 favorites. Again, I have a ton of Boston. That's why I'm mixing in just a touch of Sears just in case. I really like the Dodgers in tournaments. That kind of rounds out my favorite stacks that I like. I'm getting to a ton of Oakland A's against Pivetta just because, while he strikes out a ton of guys, he also gives up a lot of power, and they get about as big of a ballpark upgrade as you can get. It's hot in Boston. The wind's blowing straight into the monster. If somebody pops one high in the air, it might just go out. And so I have a ton of Oakland A's, even though it doesn't feel good. Mixing in some Washington. I got some Miami going up against Valdez. I got some Colorado going up against Montas. And then Atlanta, KC, Houston, Philly, kind of rounding out the teams I like.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned something that I should have added right at the top of the show. If you're talking bats and stacks and home run calls, those East Coast games, all of them are just phenomenal weather. It's really hot, really humid, winds blowing out to left in all of the East Coast games. So that's, New York and Baltimore and Boston, and there might be one other. But anyways, Philly. Yeah, thank you. All of those are great hitting spots. Cheese, okay, what are you doing here stack-wise?
Very spread out. Like there's a ton of very good offense. Like sometimes we spread out because there's nothing great. Tonight it's more like we spread out because it's all great. The Mets are at the top of my list. I think I would say the Braves, Rangers, and Reds are next, but it's all like super close. On DK, so the Royals Cardinals game is on DK, not on FanDuel. I do like the Royals there. All those kind of secondary under the radar teams that TJ mentioned, I'm also doing some stacks of, like the Marlins, like the Rockies, like the Nationals. I got the Angels on that list as well.
Okay. Let's go around the horn, talk position by position. Cheese, start us off with a little catcher talk, which I made a pretty good call yesterday as well. Little somebody called the Big Dumper. You had to have him. Big Dumper or bust.
So good. Homered from both sides of the plate.
And his first one, I don't know if you saw it, was...
Yeah. Well, I thought he was golfing.
It was like he didn't even put any power behind it, and he was way off balance, and still got out of there. Big Dumper. I don't know if he's on the slate, but if he is, I want to play him. Cheese. What do we do?
He is not. Or you would play him.
Yep.
Yeah, they start now, so they're not on the slate.
Okay. Anyways, what do we do in a catcher?
Okay, so there's a lot at every position that's pretty great. In all different price ranges. My favorite catchers are Logan O'Hoppe and Francisco Alvarez and Tyler Stevenson. They're all kind of mid-tierish. Certainly fine with Contreras or Sal Perez. I don't think I don't really need to spend up here. But those guys I just mentioned are easy enough to get to that I also don't really need to punt. In stacks, guys like Austin Barnes and Garrett Stubbs are fine. Matt Thaiss is fine if you really need a punt. But mostly I'm leaving that mid-range. You could throw Longley in there But Ohapi, Wong, I guess, as well, but Stevenson and Alvarez.
Okay. TJ, people want your catcher thoughts, and they are already clamoring for the Spidey bombs. So maybe you could set a certain amount of likes to give the people some bombs.
Here's the thing. We got like in total, including all the sites, like 1,800 people watching right now. And just on YouTube alone, well over 600. So I'm going to need these likes way up. I need 200 likes for Spidey bombs. And I won't give you just one at 200. I'll give you at least 3.
Okay.
So let's get these likes above
Bam.
200, get them way up there. And I got at least 3 Spidey bombs for the people.
Okay.
I'll give you 3 at 250 as well. I went 3 for 3 last night. If you're keeping track at home,
Shit, damn, geez, did you win all the money last night?
Not all of it, no. Because everyone scored a bunch of points. Like, it was one of those slates where everything went nuts. So even if you got everything right, you still didn't necessarily win.
Okay. From now on, if you go 3 for 3, either of you, whether it be Spidey bombs or home run calls, you need to ping me so I can tell the RotoGrinders social team so they can put the video out. Like, can that be a rule? Can we do that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We could do that.
Jesus, you're too damn humble. If you go 3 for 3, or if you talk about a pitcher who's
well, I feel like I should go 3 for 3, and I'm not going to tell you every time I don't, because that would be almost all the time too. So
yes, but you should.
And then they can make a video being like, see,
but every time Cheese goes 3 for 3, make sure I'm also tagged in it so I can get some more followers.
There you go. I like it. All right, that's the game plan going forward.
And I will say, Steve just put it up in chat. If we get 1,000 likes, everybody in chat gets a free day of premium.
Okay. I mean, we've got the people to do it. We've got the viewers to make it happen right now. Hit that thumbs up. Did we get your catcher calls, or did we just go on a total tangent, TJ?
We went on a tangent. Connor Wong is my highest owned guy today. Shea Langelier right behind him. My 2 favorites for tournaments, though, Francisco Alvarez batting 6th for the Mets today, and Tyler Stevenson batting 5th for the Reds. 2 guys I really like. I'm getting some Austin Barnes in my Dodger stacks, little Jonah Heim in my Texas stacks, and then I like Keibert Ruiz as a cheap option too.
Okay, great. By the way, we have already hit 200 likes, so we'll get to those Spidey bombs in a little bit, and we're well on our way to 250 likes, and we'll get some cheese bombs after that. First, though, TJ, what do you like at first base?
So I would love to say Pete Alonso, but Squirrel used that as a nut already for a Spidey bomb, so I can't use that as a Spidey bomb, but I love him to hit a home run today. If I were to be writing the expert survey, I would have put as my hot take that 4 of the first 5 in the Mets order are going to home run today, because Lindor, Martinez, who you can also play at first, Pete Alonso, and Vientos, I think are all going to hit home runs today. Francisco Lindor and Mark Vientos are the first 2 Spidey bombs. So they're both plus 350. And then the third one is actually Ryan McMahon, who you can get for plus 460 going up against Montas today. So those are the first 3 Spidey bombs. And if we get up to 250, I got 2 more for the people as well. Other first baseman I like, I'm getting Heimer Candelario. Juan Yepes is a cheap option. Spencer Steer, another guy that's probably going to hit a home run today. Never going to get much lower owned Shohei Ohtani than you will right now, just because it's lefty-lefty. And so I'm trying to get to him in tournaments too.
Good stuff. Cheese, your thoughts at first.
Yeah, it's kind of an embarrassment of riches. And because of that, I don't think anything's chalk. Even Pete Alonso. Like, I glance at it, I think, oh, everyone's going to play Pete Alonso, but everyone's also going to play Olsen and Walker and Freeman and Steer and all the cheap guys. And it's all great. I will tell you, I am trying to go overboard on Pete Alonso because I don't think he'll be chalky enough, even though he's kind of obvious. And I think Spencer Steer is my second favorite, and Olsen is third.
Okay, second base, Cheese.
Also pretty good. Like the expensive plays are not as good as the expensive plays at other positions. I would go Semien and Albies if I am spending up. With Stott and Altuve next. We do have almost minimum salary. Westbrook for Boston is back in the lineup. He's a good player. and he's basically free against Sears. So he's one of my favorite punts on the slate. And it's a pretty good position to punt if you're not spending up. It's kind of like it's good, but it's not as good as first, short, or the outfield, at least.
Yeah.
It'd be even better if Keston Hero was in the lineup.
See, Keston Hero was in most of my lineups, and then when he was out, but Westbrook was in, so I just swapped them. I would rather have them both, of course.
Okay. TJ, your thoughts at second?
Marcus Semien, my top option at second base today, getting to a ton of him, followed by Jonathan India, Zach Geloff, Chris Taylor, Westbrook, as Cheese mentioned, and then a little Altuve, Stott, and Ketel Marte as well.
How about third base?
Mark Vientos, aforementioned Spidey Bomb, my highest owned guy here by far. He is, I believe, my highest owned bat. Yes, he is my highest owned on the slate today. I'm getting a little call from a dog groomer to remind me that I have an appointment tomorrow. Well, guess what? I already know. You don't got to remind me. Ryan McMahon, another Spidey Bomb, as my second highest owned guy today. For what it's worth, as soon as we get up to 250 Spidey Bombs, it's a total of 5 Spidey Bombs. All of them are in 2 games. And so if you want to bet some, you want to overs, you want to do some same game parlays, these 2 are the ones that I'm looking to do it with. But Vientos, McMahon, Devers in the lefty. Boston's in such a great spot, but Devers is going low owned just because it's a strong spot and he's a lefty, but I don't care. I want to play a ton of Rafael Devers today. I'm getting some Noelvi Marte, Josh Smith, and that's it other than just guys in stacks.
Okay.
Oh, Austin Riley, I like to.
Well, who was that last one? I'm sorry.
Austin Riley.
Okay, great. Cheese, your thoughts at third?
Yeah, pretty similar. Like TJ has already mentioned it a couple of times, but we're going to get just superstar elite batters at no ownership like Ohtani. Even Devers on a kind of chalky team is going to be kind of unowned. Like it's all very strange. I agree with Vientos and McMahon. I think those are my 2 highest owned. And then on DK, I have a lot of Noelvi Marte just because the salary is useful. I don't really have much else to add.
Okay, then go to short. We love shortstop. There's a lot of good players there.
We really do. And so right back to what we were just saying, Bobby Witt and Ellie De La Cruz are probably going to be criminally underowned because Seager and Lindor are in such great spots and cheaper. And I absolutely love Seager and Lindor. Like, I think if ownership was not a thing and positions were not a thing, I would say they're my 2 favorite plays on the slate. But given that, I think we can get Ellie and Witt and CJ Abrams at like massive ownership discount. I did go out of my way to spend up a little more often. It's like those guys are all so fantastically elite. Like just play them. Like just play the ownership game when everyone is this good. And I like Willy Adames quite a bit as well. And he's just a couple bucks cheaper. So this is not where I'm goofing around with cheap stuff outside of the occasional stack. If you don't care about ownership, I would go. I'm actually going to go Lindor ahead of Seager, I guess. But those 2 for the salary very much stand out. But if you do care about ownership, which I do, I actually think CJ Abrams might be my highest owned because I think he's so far off the board.
Okay. TJ, your thoughts at short? I assume you're spending up and kind of sprinkling in all these good bats.
Yeah, I like Abrams a lot too. For tournaments today, if I could, I was very much considering. I do have some cheaper players just like for some stacks, but if I could only play Seager, Lindor, Witt, De La Cruz, and who was the 5th option we were just talking about there? I don't see them on the screen. And CJ Abrams, I'd have no problem with that at all if you just have a 5-player pool today at shortstop. There was a question in the YouTube. Are we for cash? Are we just making sure that we're locking in Lindor and Seager both in cash games today? Absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I think you're likely either playing 2 shortstops or 2 first basemen with Alonso and Olsen in FanDuel cash. I feel like you'd be doing one of those 2 things there. So Olsen, Alonso, Lindor, and Seager, you're playing 3 out of those 4 in cash games on FanDuel today. But outside of that,
will you touch on Reese Hines on FanDuel? And I'll get to him as well. Like I had forgotten that he is shortstop on FanDuel, which muddies things up even more. Kind of a mega chalk outfielder on DK, but are you playing Hines on FanDuel, TJ?
I'm not playing FanDuel. Actually, I hadn't
Okay.
considered that. I was just trying to help with that question, but I hadn't considered Hines.
Yeah, it's a super weird situation where, like, Rhys Hines for minimum salary is fantastic and like one of the best points per dollar plays on the slate. But the expensive shortstops aren't really that expensive on FanDuel. So I can't play Hines ahead of Seager and Lindor, much less De La Cruz and Abrams. I do still have him on a few lineups because, again, he's $2,000. You can play 2 shortstops. But like, I don't think I would go there in cash. I would just play Lindor and Seager. But quite playable. But it's just the salary's just not that much of a thing.
If it allows you to get everything else you want, it's fine. But I agree. I would still prioritize those 2.
Yeah. Okay. How about the outfield, TJ?
Tyler O'Neill, highest owned guy here, tied with Rhys Hines, the guy we were just talking about on DraftKings. The other cheapie I'm getting to a ton of is Lawrence Butler, batting 5th today. 2,300 for Oakland, going up against Pivetta in that great weather game in Boston. Wyatt Langford, I like a lot. JD Martinez, another player who is a Spidey bum, so I'll just wait on that one until we get 20 more likes. We're 20 likes away from Cheese's homer picks and 2 more Spidey bums. Yordan Alvarez, I think, is a great play today. Andy Pages and James Wood, I really like at low ownership as well. Also, Jackson Chourio leading off, and of course, Shohei Ohtani.
Okay, very good. We got 230 likes, as TJ mentioned. A few more little thumbs ups, and then we get more Spidey bombs and more home run calls. Cheese, walk me through your favorites in the outfield.
I mean, it's loaded, and there's a ton of favorites. Everyone TJ mentioned, I do think Tyler O'Neill is probably the chalk. I slightly prefer Yordan Alvarez and Kyle Schwarber as spend-ups, but those guys are all fantastic. Mid-tierish wise, I like Taylor Ward and Adolis Garcia. JD Martinez, I like even outside of Met stacks. I think he'll be popular in Met stacks, but not so much on his own. I know TJ mentioned Lawrence Butler. Like, that's as hot as a guy can be and still be batting 196. There's 3 or so homers in last week and still hasn't cracked the 200 barrier yet. But he's good for a cheap play if you want to pivot off of Hines. I definitely like Hines. I think he's my highest owned batter on DK just because you do need the salary there. Most of my lineups have either him or Westbrook, if not both, just so I can kind of load up everywhere else. And I don't think there's anything sneaky about that. I know there's some other stuff.
But you're okay playing those chalky hitters because you're not playing the 2 main pitchers, essentially. You're already different.
Right. Yeah. And there's still, like, the rest of the lineup, there is no other chalk outside of that. Like, maybe Tyler O'Neill and a couple cheap bats. Otherwise, like, at all these other positions, even with the spend ups, it's just spread out all over the place.
Yeah. Okay. We should note everybody should sign up for RotoGrinders Premium. What are you doing? If you haven't done it, you should hit the thumbs up, sign up for RG Premium. We've got MLB, PGA, MMA, WNBA. You got NFL and college football right around the corner here. And whatever level you're looking for, we can make it happen. A 6-month combo subscription and an exclusive price right now of $469.99. That's a savings of $250 as opposed to buying 6 individual months of combo premium. You can get your first month of RG Premium $40 off for a limited time. Or if you just want to test run, dip your toes in the water, 3-day pass is $19.99. I had breakfast at Chick-fil-A today. It cost me $19.99 just for breakfast at Chick-fil-A. You could have 3 days of RG Premium for $19.99. That's amazing. It wasn't quite $19.99.
Would you get a fruit cup there?
No, I got 2, and this is pretty gluttonous. I get 2 chicken, egg, and cheese biscuits. 2 of them. That's a lot. You know, it's a hearty biscuit with chicken, egg, and cheese, and then I double down on it. What are we doing here? Do we have enough likes, TJ? Where are we at?
I don't think so. I think the people are slacking. We are at 235. We're still 15 away.
We're starting to like taper off here. We gotta mash that like button here.
Cheese went 3 for 3 yesterday. People, come on, let him give some home run calls.
I know. Yeah, you'd think they'd want the bomb calls after he just crushes the bombs. Let's see what we can do here. FanDuel single entry cheese, Chris Bassett or Logan Webb?
I like getting up to Logan Webb.
Okay. TJ, coming to you. Razzle Dazzle's got a question for you. FanDuel single entry GPP at the catcher first position, Alonso or Contreras?
Alonso.
D-Rock says TJ, DK GPP, 3 entry max. Would you rather have 2 shares of Montas or 2 shares of Myers?
Myers.
Cheese Lone Wolf says De La Cruz or Abrams straight up. You love them both. That's a tough question.
Yeah, I'm going to play Abrams.
Okay. DeBoogie says Cheese on FanDuel. You want Morton Kellenich or Montas Otani?
No. If I have
like
to choose one of those two, I guess Morton Kelnick, but I don't like either.
I thought you did not like either when I saw those names. I was like, he's not going to approve of this. TJ DK Cash from Tom. He needs an outfielder, 4,100 or cheaper. He's got Hines. Thank you.
I think that answer off the top of my head will probably be Jared Kelenic. Kelenic, Pajes, or Langford are your 3 options there. I would go probably Langford, actually.
Okay. Blink 182 says TJ DK large field tournament. I've got $8,900 left for SP2. I've got Webb as my SP1. Which pitcher would you pair with him and a 5-man A stack to win it all?
Chris Bassett. I really like him today. He struggles against lefties. He's really good against righties. Getting 4 different righties today, I believe. And the ballpark, I think, should help subdue power a little bit. So I like Chris Bassett quite a little bit.
Okay, great. Cheese New Generation says DKGPP, Westbrook with Vientos or McMahon or Giloff with Marte.
I would go Westbrook. I mean, Vientos and McMahon is kind of a toss-up. I guess if you don't have any other players on either of those teams, I'll go McMahon first. But I think we both love them both.
Okay. Carolina guy says FanDuel GPP. Cheese, your favorite low-owned pitcher?
On FanDuel, I'm going to assume everyone other than Pivetta, Valdez, and Montas is low-owned, which makes it Logan Webb.
I think Myers is single digit.
So Webb if you got money, and Myers if you don't got money.
Okay. And then it's kind of a follow-up, similar vein here, Cheese. FanDuel GPP, just your favorite pitcher?
Nick Pivetta.
Great. We have over 250 likes now.
Oh,
so
it's bomb time.
In addition to the first 3 Spidey bombs of Francisco Lindor, Mark Vientos, Ryan McMahon, we are adding another Colorado Rocky against Frankie Montas. Brenton Doyle's not going out of the park today. He's plus 550, I think it was.
Ooh,
I saw
nice.
it on. Whereas Brenton Doyle plus 540 over on FanDuel. And then the final one, another one who's plus 500, Ellie De La Cruz.
Can't argue those names. Cheese, what do you like? You got 3 calls for me?
Yeah, since we got to 250, I'll go with 4 because I wasn't going to use a high end guy. So we'll look throw Pete Alonso in there at the high end, and then I'm going to do a Rocky as well. Michael Toglia, Taylor Ward, and then the cheap Jamie Westbrook.
Very nice. Okay, Derek saying O'Doyle rules. Was that? That's not Tommy Boy. O'Doyle rules was
Old school.
No, it's not old school. It's the Happy Gilmore. That's what. Yeah, No, not Happy Gilmore either. Freaking somebody help me out.
Billy Madison.
Billy Madison. Thank you, Cheese.
Billy Madison.
That's weird. I can't that's one of those you hear it and you know exactly what's happening, but yeah, I couldn't place it either.
Couldn't get it. Let's see.
The chat is going wild. Billy Madison, Billy Madison.
Everyone's
Billy
like,
Madison,
"Oh my
Billy
god,
Madison."
we knew. We just couldn't quite get it. It was on the tip of the tongue. We knew. We're good." What do we got here? FanDuel. Thanks, TJ. Thanks for throwing that in there. FanDuel single entry. Do I dare fade Seager and go Alonso, Lindor, Hines? Cheese. It would let me fit Alvarez.
Oh yeah, I mean, like all these guys are so close. So yeah, you can absolutely do that.
Yeah. FanDuel single entry. TJ Trey or Lindor. I'm stacking Texas.
Lindor still. Yeah, I don't know why I said still, but yeah, Lindor.
Yeah. Mari says, no, you didn't have it, Roth. You said Happy Gilmore. I did, but then I immediately said, no, it's not Happy Gilmore. I was just working the mental process. I was coming to it. I was coming around. I'm getting old. I'm slowing down in my old age here. What else do we have? Scrolling up into the YouTube, by the way, we're 6 or so minutes until lock. FanDuel tournament. Cheese, Ohtani or Siegs. Seager's like maybe the better play, but Ohtani's the lower owned play.
Yeah. Yeah. I think do Ohtani. Like, how often do you get a single digit owned Ohtani?
Yeah. Okay. Jake Sutton, Cheese, DKGPP, Tyler Stevenson, and Tyler O'Neill. The Tylers versus Francisco Alvarez and JD Martinez. He's stacking up the Mets and Reds.
Oh, I really like both sides of that. I would go with the Tylers.
Okay, great. E.G. Belvedere, which is such a fancy name. If that is your real name, please let us know. E.G. Belvedere says, TJ, Pivetta or Morton in a GPP?
Pivetta.
Okay. Devin says, TJ, do you look at hitters any different in the second game of a doubleheader? Great question. Do you care, Cheese? Sorry, TJ, do you care first?
Nope.
Nope. Cheese, do you care? Second game of a doubleheader?
No. I mean, you can overthink it to say there's a slightly increased pinch hit risk, but it's so faint that I think if you put that in your process, you're overthinking it.
Yeah. All right. Pivetta or Morton in a tournament, Cheese? FanDuel tournament.
Pivetta.
I should add.
Either one, Pivetta.
Okay. The best hitting spot, Cheese. Weather-wise, any of those East Coast games apply. So I'll let you. I mean, you can pick whichever game you want, but those East Coast games.
Yeah, I think that's a question for you. Like, I don't even know if he just means it that way. Like, what's the best weather hitting spot?
Literally,
if you factor all that in, I would say it's Cincinnati because it's the good home run ballpark to start with.
Yeah. I prefer
it's Cincinnati, Boston, and New York for when combining the teams and the weather.
Yeah. And if you're just talking the weather, we'll add in Philly into that as well because the winds are blowing out, and it's hot, it's humid. All those East Coast games, the weather is absolutely phenomenal. What do we got here? Scrolling down. Here we go. JB says Bassett Darno or Tobias and Francisco Alvarez in a DKGPP.
Bassett Darno.
Okay. Seeing what we got in the RG Discord here. Chinatown says, TJ, did I hear you properly earlier? You're now saving money with your short hair by going to a dog groomer.
Not quite, no. My dog groomer, my dog has an appointment. Both dogs have an appointment at the groomer tomorrow.
Okay, we're just checking. I was a little bit curious as well. I just wanted to be sure there.
Should I see if they can
get your mustache for you?
Bit.
Be like, no.
Yeah. Don't the dog groomers, do they use like the vacuum cut thing?
That'd probably be nice. That'd probably feel good.
DKGPP, TJ, single entry GPP, Pivetta and Kelenic with Westbrook, or Webb for ownership purposes with Refsnyder and Westbrook.
Yeah, I'd go the second one.
Okay, I like it. Crazy Coop, Cheese. He says, fellas, FanDuel single entry. Any Pirates love? They've been heating up. Pirates getting a little warm.
I mean, they're pretty deep into MME at this point, but
okay,
you can play them, but there's no love, is what I was going to say.
Yeah. All right. Chinatown says, DK Cash, a theory question for you, Cheese. How risky is Pivetta over Valdez or Montas in cash? If you're wrong, you lose. But if you're right and one of the others gets shelled, you win.
Yeah, I don't think it's risky to play the best play.
Yeah.
I think it's risky to play a bad play because you think other people are.
Yeah, I like it. How do you feel about an A's stack, TJ? Langoliers, a.k.a. Langelier, Giloff, Blade, and Butler, single entry DK?
Yeah, totally cool with it.
Great. Right back to you here, TJ, from Red Sox, DK single entry, Alonso or Walker at first. And on FanDuel, Webb or Valdez?
Alonso and Webb.
Okay, great. Cheese, Sean says Toglia or Langford, FanDuel GPP?
I like them both, but I would lean Toglia.
Okay. Beaner says, Cheese, do you like the Braves at all?
Yeah, they were in my top little group that I mentioned.
Great. We got another one for Cheese from J Sam's here. Cheese, on FanDuel, after full stacking one team, since salary is not really a thing with Pivetta at pitcher, do you think it's okay to just play your favorite one-offs like Tyler O'Neill and Alvarez, etc., instead of going for a secondary stack?
I think it's more than okay. I think it's the preferred way to go tonight.
Very nice. Okay. DK Cash, TJ, Lindor v. Seager, salary is irrelevant. Do you have any preference?
Yes, Seager, but I think Lindor will be lower owned.
Okay. Which bottom of the order stack is best, TJ, between the Mets or the Philly? His main stack is Tejas.
Sorry, one more time.
Which bottom of the order stack do you prefer best between the Mets or Philly? His main stack is Tejas.
Mets.
Okay. I didn't know if you wanted me
You
to do
did say it again. That's what I wanted.
It
Do
is-
it again.
This Tejas. Rafaela, Cheese. Any love for Rafaela, FanDuel or DK?
I mean, in a Boston stack, he's fine. Don't love it, but sure.
I am sad to say that E.G. Belvedere is not E.G. Belvedere's last name. You could change it. It sounds very classy. I think you should just change your name to E.G. Belvedere. I might change my name to that. Roth, are all the games okay weather-wise? Yes, with the exception of Baltimore, which is not on the slate and nobody cares. And with that, we're coming up on lock real quick. Favorite Italian food. I think there was a question there. I can't find it, but a lot of people are talking about Italian food. So as we have hit the lock, everybody's favorite Italian food. It could be you're going to a restaurant and you get your pick of the litter. Cheese. What are you doing?
It's pretty restaurant dependent because Italian food is strange for me because I don't really like
Cheese.
Alfredo or marinara based sauce. Like I don't like the standard two sauces, but I love if they have like an oil based or like a lemon pepper type of thing in one of their dishes, and that in which case it's bow tie pasta with chicken and vegetables.
Okay, a farfalle, I believe. The bow tie pasta.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But it's got to be a specific kind of sauce available.
Okay, that is a surprising take from you. Generally, your food takes are very strong. This one was.
I fully admit that you should not ask me about Italian food. Like I understand it's great, it's just not my thing.
Okay, TJ, are you an Italian food guy here?
Yeah, it's probably my favorite kind of food. I'll say my answers though are totally different versus what's my favorite Italian food versus what would I get at an Italian restaurant, because like my favorite Italian food is pizza, but I'll just go to a specific type of pizza place for that. And then if I'm going to an Italian place, it'll definitely be pasta and maybe like not necessarily Alfredo, but like a cream based sauce with some, a lot of garlic, maybe like a little wine or oil base in there, and get some chicken, maybe a little bacon, a little vodka sauce.
Love a vodka sauce. Nice, creamy, cheesy goodness. I am a classic chicken parm with fettuccine Alfredo kind of guy, but I'm always down with that. And the difference in, are these handmade noodles? That's a big question. Look, if I'm going to the Olive Garden, I'm not getting handmade noodles, but are these fresh? Is this fresh pasta? Right? Is this legit pasta or is this dried box pasta? If you're making me fresh raviolis or something, then I'm probably going to try that out. Hey, with that, we have hit the lock. We've given the bomb calls. We've given some pitchers, some hitters, some stacks, and some weather. I think it is time to bounce on out of here. So for TJ and for Cheese and for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you, and we will catch you tomorrow. You have been correct.